In the world of British royalty, every handshake, every nod, and every word is dictated by centuries of protocol. Reveal nothing, favor no one, keep your opinions to yourself. But what happens when that protocol meets the ultimate test? When the royals come face to face with a figure as polarizing as Donald Trump, the mask of neutrality doesn't just slip, it sometimes shatters. Why did one royal spend an entire evening publicly mocking him? Which family member was caught on camera laughing at his expense? And most importantly, what was said behind the closed doors of a private lunch that the Queen hoped would never go public? The truth about what the royal family actually thinks of Donald Trump isn't found in the official photographs. It's found in the tiny, unscripted moments that the palace tried to hide. Let's start with the man who wears the crown. King Charles has many reasons to dislike Donald Trump, but two specific issues stand out: the threat of climate change and the treatment of the late Princess Diana. After Charles and Diana's divorce in 1992, Trump pursued her aggressively. He sent flowers to her apartment, so many that she reportedly told friends that he gave her the creeps. One journalist wrote that Diana became increasingly concerned because it had begun to feel as if Trump was stalking her. Then Diana died in 1997. Afterward, Trump went on a popular radio show where he was asked if he could have nailed her. He replied that he probably could have, and later even called her crazy. King Charles is well aware of these crude comments, the unwanted pursuit, and the blatant disrespect shown to the mother of his children after her death. And yet in 2019, Charles hosted Trump for tea at Clarence House. What was supposed to be 15 minutes stretched to 90, with Charles lecturing Trump on climate change the entire time. Trump later said Charles did most of the talking and that he was really into climate change. Despite the conversation, nothing changed. Trump still called climate change a hoax. Charles walked away with nothing. Then Trump won a second term, and Charles invited him back, not just for tea, but for an unprecedented second state visit in September 2025. He rolled out everything: 1,300 troops, 120 horses, and the largest guard of honor in living memory. He called Trump my friend and praised him as a great gentleman. So what does Charles actually think of Trump? He almost certainly despises him, not just for what happened with Diana or his stance on the climate, but for everything the man represents. But Charles is king now, and kings don't get to have enemies. Britain needed American goodwill, and Charles delivered it flawlessly, smiling, toasting, and playing the gracious host while burying whatever he actually felt. That's not weakness. That's the job. But Charles wasn't the only one managing that tension. His wife was right beside him, handling Trump in her own way. Queen Camilla has been every Trump encounter: the teas at Clarence House, the state banquets, and the ceremonial arrivals. She smiled, made small talk, and played the gracious hostess without a single misstep. But there's one moment that reveals how Camilla actually operates. During the 2025 state visit, Trump reportedly tried to get some gossip out of her. He allegedly asked for the latest gossip on Meghan and what was going on there. Camilla's response was subtle but firm. She didn't say a word, she simply crossed her wrists in front of her in that classic handcuff pose King Charles uses. This was a silent, physical barrier that signaled the conversation was over. She wasn't being rude, she was being a vault. That is the Camilla method. She's the perfect hostess. She'll wear your gifts, like the vintage brooch Trump gave her, and she'll be the warmest person at the dinner table, but none of that warmth is an invitation. To her, Trump is not a friend. He is a project to be managed with extreme care. She is simply too experienced to let her guard down, no matter how provocative the question might be. Camilla is the diplomatic deflector, gracious on the surface, guarded underneath. And that approach served her well. The king and queen played the game perfectly. But not every royal managed to keep their composure, and one was caught on camera doing the exact opposite. Think back to December 2019. At Buckingham Palace, world leaders gathered for a reception marking NATO's 70th anniversary. A camera caught a group of world leaders in a huddle, clearly amused by something. One leader was explaining why another had been late, noting he had been delayed by a 40-minute press conference at the top of the schedule. They were talking about Trump, and they were laughing. Standing right there with them, nodding along and chuckling, was Princess Anne, a famously blunt woman with zero patience for nonsense. Anne has been called the hardest working royal precisely because she gets things done without the fanfare. She wasn't just a bystander, she was part of the group, visibly entertained by the conversation about Trump's behavior. There was another moment from the same evening. The Queen appeared to gesture toward Anne, seemingly asking her to come greet the Trumps in the receiving line. Anne shrugged and replied that it was just me. Gesturing to staff behind her, Later reporting clarified she wasn't actually snubbing Trump, but the shrug went viral anyway because it felt so characteristic of Anne's personality. While other royals would have drifted away from that conversation or kept their expressions neutral, Anne stayed. She listened and laughed along with the world leaders making fun of the American president. She wasn't necessarily hostile toward Trump, just thoroughly unimpressed, and unlike others in her family, she didn't bother hiding it. While Anne's shrug became a viral sensation, her mother, Queen Elizabeth, was fighting a much more subtle battle behind the scenes. Elizabeth II met 13 American presidents during her reign, from Harry Truman to Joe Biden. With Trump, she was the ultimate professional, at least on the surface. But look closer at their 2018 meeting at Windsor Castle, and you start to see the cracks. First, there was the waiting. The 92-year-old queen was caught on camera repeatedly checking her watch as the president's motorcade ran behind schedule. In the world of the monarchy, tardiness is a sign of deep disrespect. When Trump finally arrived, he began wandering ahead during the inspection of the Guard of Honor, at one point completely blocking the queen from view. She was forced to sidestep around him just to keep up. But people were desperate to know what she really thought, and that desperation led to the brooch theory. Royal watchers noticed that on the day Trump arrived in 2018, the Queen wore a small green brooch, a gift from the previous president and his wife. The next day, she wore a brooch she'd worn to her father's funeral. The day after that, a brooch given to her by Canada, a country Trump had been publicly feuding with at the time. While it may have been a coincidence, thousands of people believed the Queen was sending coded messages of disapproval through her jewelry. The palace never confirmed or denied it. They never do. But the most telling evidence came from the Queen's private lunch table. According to reports that emerged after her death, Elizabeth allegedly confided in a guest that she found Trump very rude. She particularly disliked his habit of looking over her shoulder during conversations, as if he were constantly searching for someone more interesting. She even reportedly questioned his marriage, wondering aloud why his wife stayed with him. If Elizabeth found Trump exhausting, she only let it show in those tiny, captured moments. A glance at a watch, an awkward sidestep, a carefully chosen brooch, and a few choice words whispered behind closed doors. While the Queen used silence to maintain distance, her son, Prince Andrew, took the opposite approach, building a visible friendship that would eventually destroy his reputation. In the year 2000, Donald Trump and Prince Andrew were photographed together at a party at Mar-a-Lago. They attended a famous Halloween party that same year. Trump said publicly that Andrew was not pretentious and a lot of fun to be with. They played golf together and ran in the same social circles. During Trump's 2019 state visit, Andrew was given a visible role. He escorted Trump and his wife through Westminster Abbey. The friendship, it seemed, was intact. Then came Andrew's disastrous television interview later that year regarding his association with Jeffrey Epstein, whose legal troubles brought heavy scrutiny to his high-profile acquaintances. Public opinion turned against Andrew overnight, and he was stripped of his royal duties. And Trump, he suddenly appeared to have amnesia regarding their history. He told reporters he didn't know Prince Andrew, despite the years of photographs and golf games. By 2025, Andrew wasn't even invited to the state banquet. His own brother, the king, kept him away entirely. The friendship reveals something darker about how Trump operates. People are useful until they're not. Whatever Andrew once thought of Trump doesn't matter anymore. They have both decided the friendship never existed. Andrew's social blunders were a disaster for the palace, which is exactly why they began deploying their most reliable secret weapon to handle the president. Princess Catherine has been seated next to Donald Trump at 2 state banquets in 2019 and again in 2025. That is not a coincidence. The palace knows exactly what they are doing when they place her beside a difficult guest. In 2019, she wore a favorite tiara and kept the conversation flowing all evening. She asked questions, listened attentively, and made Trump feel important without ever saying anything that could be quoted or used against the family. In 2025, Catherine delivered exactly what the palace needed, a masterclass in the charm offensive. While the world was watching for any sign of tension, she spent the evening engaging Trump in a deep discussion about the history of the Queen's gallery, subtly steering him away from controversial political topics. When Trump reached over to push in her chair, a move that shocked protocol experts, Catherine didn't flinch. She simply offered a warm, practiced smile and continued the conversation as if nothing had happened. She even managed to get Trump to discuss his mother's Scottish heritage, a subject that notably softened his tone. Royal experts have called her the weapon, the senior royal deployed when they need to neutralize a difficult guest. But Catherine's power lies in what she doesn't say. She is so skilled that her real opinions are invisible. However, there is one member of the family who did the unthinkable and put her private opinions completely on the record. In May 2016, Meghan Markle appeared on a late-night talk show and didn't hold back. She stated that Trump was obviously divisive and asked the audience to consider the impact on female voters. She called him misogynistic and joked that she might stay in Canada if he won the election. At the time, she had no idea she would soon be a duchess. But those comments didn't disappear. In 2019, just before Trump's state visit, a tabloid reminded him of what Meghan had said. He responded by saying he didn't know she was nasty. The comment exploded in the media. Trump immediately denied saying it until the audio was released. Then he backtracked, claiming he meant nasty in a positive way and that Meghan was actually very nice. No one believed him. And the damage was done. Meghan was on maternity leave during Trump's 2019 visit, so they never met, but the tension has never eased. Trump has since called her disrespectful to the royal family and suggested that she is the reason Prince Harry left his family. Meghan is the only member of the family whose opinion is on the record, misogynistic and divisive. She has never retracted those words. Meghan made her stance clear from the start. But the real surprise wasn't her. It was the quiet, dutiful Prince Harry, who would eventually go much further than his wife ever did. In 2019, Prince Harry attended a private lunch with Trump and said nothing. He did his duty, but by 2020, Harry and Meghan released a video urging Americans to reject hate speech. Everyone knew who they were talking about. Trump's response was immediate, stating he wasn't a fan of hers and wishing Harry a lot of luck. The feud escalated from there. Trump called Meghan terrible and said Harry had betrayed the Queen in an unforgivable way. He then went further, threatening Harry's ability to stay in America. When Harry's memoir revealed he had used drugs in the past, Trump seized on it. He publicly questioned whether Harry had lied on his visa application and suggested his administration might not protect him from deportation. He ominously stated that the world would have to wait and see what happened. It was a direct threat to Harry's life in California. By December 2025, Harry stopped pretending to be neutral. He appeared on a late-night talk show and openly mocked Trump. When the host mentioned Americans' fascination with royalty, Harry quipped that Americans had already elected a king. Days later, he made another joke about Trump's immigration policies, suggesting that British football fans would need to behave to get past federal agents. Harry has decided that Trump is dangerous enough to risk his own position to oppose, and given the visa threats, that is not just a figure of speech. While Harry has chosen open warfare, his brother William has had to navigate a much more dangerous path, balancing his own deep-seated values against the weight of a future crown. Prince William has more personal reasons to dislike Donald Trump than almost anyone in his family. And for years, he didn't bother hiding it. It started in 2012, when paparazzi used a long-range lens to photograph Catherine sunbathing topless on a private estate in France. It was a massive invasion of privacy. Catherine and William sued and won, with the French court calling the act illegal and the photographer facing criminal charges. And then Trump weighed in on social media. He wrote that while Catherine was great, she only had herself to blame for sunbathing in the nude. He suggested that anyone would take the picture to make money in that situation. He blamed the victim and sided with the paparazzi who violated her. According to one biographer, Trump's comments caused an outburst of anger from Charles, William, and Harry. The three princes allegedly discussed the issue behind the scenes to discourage any future Trump visit to Britain. Then came 2018, when Trump finally arrived for his first UK visit. William was nowhere to be found. While the palace denied it was a deliberate snub, the absence was notable, especially compared to the warm, private dinner William and Catherine hosted for the previous president in 2016. For the previous administration, they made time. For Trump, they found excuses. While Trump had tea with the monarch, William was at a charity polo match. The optics spoke for themselves. In 2019, William did attend the state banquet at Buckingham Palace. He entered alongside the British Prime Minister and was seated at the top table. He did what duty required, but nothing more. But then came December 2024. At a high-profile international event in Paris, William approached Trump, shook his hand, and sat down for a 40-minute private meeting. Trump emerged calling William a good man who was doing a fantastic job. The heir to the throne had finally made nice with the man who had blamed his wife for her own exploitation. By September 2025, William was standing at Windsor Castle with Catherine, formally welcoming the Trumps for their second state visit. He introduced them to his father, attended the state banquet, and played his role perfectly. During the dinner, Trump praised Catherine in his speech as radiant and beautiful. Catherine smiled through all of it, as did William. So what changed? Nothing about how William feels. What changed is that duty called. William is learning what his father and grandmother learned before him. Future kings do not get to have public enemies. They must work with and charm everyone, regardless of personal feelings. William does not like Trump. The evidence is overwhelming. From his years of avoidance to his championship of environmental causes that Trump dismisses as a hoax. But unlike Harry, he has decided that showing his feelings would cost more than hiding them. William is becoming what all successful monarchs must become, someone whose private opinions never reach the surface. Watching him smile at the man who blamed his wife for a gross violation of privacy tells you everything about the cost of wearing a crown. The pattern is revealing. The closer someone is to the throne, the quieter their opinion. Charles swallowed his convictions. William kept his distance until duty demanded otherwise. Catherine smiled through every moment. But the further from the throne, the louder the voices. Meghan called him misogynistic. Harry moved from silence to mockery. Even Anne didn't bother hiding her amusement. Trump exposed the constant tension between who these people are and who they must appear to be. In a family trained to give nothing away, he revealed cracks that might otherwise have stayed invisible. The members of the royal family's opinions of Trump are varied. Some found him dangerous, some found him amusing, and some managed to hide their feelings so completely that we'll never know at all. But those choices, the silences, the smiles, and the rare moments of honesty tell us more about the modern monarchy than any official portrait ever could. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you will like this one as well.